To remove items from a photograph that you don't necessarily want to be there, the first step that you're going to do is duplicate the background layer. So we're going to do Control J on the keyboard. Control J on the keyboard, sorry. Or you can right click and choose Duplicate Layer. Either way works, both of them will give you a duplicated layer. The reason why we're duplicating is because this is it's non-destructive, but there are times when you are going to be doing destructive edits and you just want to get in the habit of having that duplicated layer. The background you can always go back to if anything happens and you mess anything up, okay? So that's the first step. The second step is to determine the area that you want to get rid of. So for example, we're getting rid of the car. And then I want to figure out what matches that in the photograph. For this one specifically, I'm going to use the rectangle marquee tool, and I'm just going to grab the grass and the wall, the curb, and the street. Okay, so I'm going to, on my keyboard, do Control C, Control V, so copy and then paste. And that's giving me exactly what I just selected with the rectangular marquee tool, okay? The picture's still intact, right? So I've duplicated essentially one aspect of the picture as opposed to the whole thing. Then I'm gonna go to the Move tool, okay, which is the top tool, and I'm gonna move this section over to cover up my car. But it doesn't quite fit, right? So I'm gonna make some changes to that. And it's still not gonna look perfect, okay? There are other things, and I'll show you at the end some other tricks you can use. But for the purpose of this demo and for most of what you'll need this for, the next step is to go to the adjustment, add layer mask, and that's the icon that looks like the Japanese flag. And I'm going to then go to the brush tool. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th tool down in Creative Clouds 2020, which you all have at this point. I'm going to flip the color of my foreground and background color. So I'm working with black. So as we notice in the layer mask over here, it's white. So the opposite of white is black, right? Which is why we now have that as our foreground color. Default, the flow up at the top in our options bar is 100%. Because I want it to blend more, I want to change my flow to a lower number. I like to be around 20%, but you could be 25, it could be 18. Personal preference does come into play after you've been doing this for a while. The reason why I'm choosing such a low number, the way I think about flow, is a Sharpie marker that's dying. Okay, so I'm going to get essentially gray happening in my layer mask as opposed to black, but it also means that as I'm making part of the picture disappear, I'm not making it disappear so quickly that I don't have control over it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make my brush bigger. Oops, let me click enter first to get out of the flow. And then using the bracket keys on the keyboard, which are next to the letter P on your keyboard, I'm going to make that bigger. And I'm going to adjust my hardness. I'm going to double check that this is at 0, okay? Or again, around 20% or less. And that's just to make it a fluffy brush so that you don't have any hard edges. All right, so I'm actually going to make it a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to start painting, making sure that it's on the layer mask, this white rectangle corners over there. I don't want it on this, I want it on the white. So I'm just going to paint, and you can kind of see it disappearing, right, so that it starts to flow a little bit better into the picture. So I'm just clicking away and getting it to look as natural as possible. And that's it. I'm done. This part's a little wonky, but unless you know it's there, it's not that big of a deal. If it bothers you, one thing that you can do, so again, if you're feeling like going above and beyond, I'm going to do a Control-T to transform this section. I'm going to, because I want to squish it a little bit, I'm going to hold Shift and move the bottom just a touch up so that, oh, I might need to zoom in. So I'm going to do Control+ to zoom in. Holding Shift, dragging from the bottom just to get that to match a little bit better. As you can see, the line goes across a little bit better now too. Not that I need the line there. And again, if I was going for really making it look realistic, I would probably go through this process a second time, just grabbing the road over here and doing that copy and paste and putting it on top of there. So you don't have to do that. If you want to go above and beyond, you can. Once you've completed this exercise, you will do a file, save as, write last name, underscore, first name, underscore, and this is a copy paste exercise. And so you'll change the type to JPEG. I believe I already have something named that, so it's going to probably tell me that I want to save over it, and since I don't, I'm just going to add a number 2 there. You don't have to write the number 2. Click Save, click OK, and then on Google Classroom you would turn this in.